Look at me at this power station, look at me in China, look at me at the river, look at me at the solar farms. So that's part of the propaganda. He's a very old lesbian.
And it's like, don't they see what they're doing here? When Trump said he was withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, Ed Miliband, who is obviously a sage, went on to warn Trump that net zero is unstoppable. So clearly Ed knows more than Trump does about this, although he's never actually won an election in his life or whatever. And this man, Ed Miliband, to me, he seems clinically insane. The things he is doing.
He's a believer.
Yeah.
He's a believer. And if you believe in this, why wouldn't you do the things he's trying to do? Because you're trying to save the planet. You're trying to save the future of mankind. So if we have to go bankrupt, if we have to be poorer, we have to be colder. If some people will live in poverty, well, that's acceptable, because if we don't, the whole of mankind's going to die and the world's going to end. So I can understand why they're sort of zealots in this.
Yeah.
But for me,
I can't even understand it though, Nick. Especially given the percentage of CO2 this country emits in the global stage. It's nothing.
They do it because they believe in it, and they're hoping that if we can do it and lead and show the way, all the other countries will start doing it. So someone has to be the first person to make the sacrifice to save the country, and he's quite happy to be sacrificed because he believes in it.
I'm not convinced he does, but I think he's a narcissist, and I think he's just doing it because he thinks it will get him attention. He was one of the people who complained when Cameron brought in a photographer on the government
They've
payroll.
all got photographers now, haven't they? Yeah.
So he's just hired this guy, net zero, and blah blah. I'm doing it for the good of. He's just hired a photographer at our expense for 50 grand a year.
Yeah. Because he needs the PR, he needs the propaganda, he needs those photos to be pumping out all the time. Look at me at this power station, look at me in China, look at me at the river, look at me at the solar farms. So that's part of the propaganda.
He's just given a major contract to a guy called Dale Vince. I don't know if you've heard of Dale Vince.
He's a very old lesbian. You've seen him, haven't you? He looks like a very old lesbian.
I mean, who is this Dale Vince character? He's some sort of eco freak who's made a lot of money. Is that correct?
Yeah, he owns. Yeah, he's a multi-millionaire. He owns a green energy company,
which I think he's just sold, or he sold some of it.
Has he? Right.
Yeah.
But he's just been given a new contract off Miliband to build solar panel farms in the UK. And last year, this is just a coincidence this now, Lindsay. Last year, he gave 5 million to the Labour Party.
Ah,
that's just a
that's
coincidence,
nice, isn't it?
Just coincidence.
Yeah. And now he's just been awarded a massive fat contract by Miliband.
Yes.
So this is what I mean. These guys, they appear as corrupt, and you know, they're not socialists. They're just out for themselves, what they can get, you know. And it's all about publicity and political advancement, isn't it? I can't see that.
He's a champagne socialist, as in it's okay him being rich, but he's one of the good rich.
Yes.
And he's going to use him being good rich to empower and help everybody else. But I'm going to keep the money though.
Yes, and make more.
But I'm one of the good rich.
And some of the numbers here that Miliband is spending of our money are staggering. I know the Tories are balls deep in this as well, but...
The Tories started it. It was Theresa May who started this by signing into law the Green Agenda and Net Zero.
And Theresa May was heavily involved in the tranny thing as well, wasn't she?
Yes.
She was.
Yeah. And it was Theresa May, when she was Home Secretary, that heavily reduced stop and search because it was racist. Theresa May.
She's caused a lot of problems.
A lot of problems.
So the subsidy we gave to the wind industry in 2024 was £7 billion. The wind energy now is just generating less than 9% of our energy, and on still days, nothing at all.
And on really windy days, nothing at all as well, because they have to turn them off.
Correct. Well, it's worse than that.
Right.
On a very windy day like we had, a while ago, and I had to go to Wales because our place in Wales, because of the roof blew off the garage, I had to go down and strap down the canvas to hold my roof down. On a very windy day like that, they have to switch off the turbines, but there's a cost attached to switching off the turbines, and apparently it's costing us every year £3 billion to close down the turbines. Because what happens is apparently they start chucking extra electricity into the cables can't cope and all sorts of crap, so they've got to close them down. But it costs all the people running around switching things off. It costs £3 billion a year that we have to pay as well. I'm
sure it's not just simply just that.
Yes,
I'm sure
there's not large
it's a complicated thing, and then it's worse than that. I found out the other day that when they have windy days like that and they're not sure if they're going to turn off the turbines, they then have to fire up the gas, not boilers, the gas, what are they called?
Turbines.
No,
the gas power stations. Power stations, the gas power station.
They've got to turn them on, and they start running and producing no electricity just in case they're needed. So then we've got all that running, producing nothing in case it's needed.
They're not connected to the machines, just burning
just burning, waiting to be used because to turn them on, there's like an hour start up, and so if extra power is needed because they've got to turn off the wind turbines, then we need something straight away. So these have got to be running, wasting everything in case they're needed. It's a double system. We have a double system of green energy, which is great, we're using it, but always running alongside it are the fossil fuel energy systems that are waiting in the wings because you can't rely on that. We're running two systems. It'd be cheaper to run one system.
And a really good example of that, I'll stray off a bit here, go back to WEF. But apparently there's a video, I've seen a video at the WEF, and it's all these executive electric cars lined up, big executive Teslas, all lined up in a row, all plugged into a central cable. And then they follow the cable down, and it goes to a massive diesel generator at the end. And it's like, don't they see what they're doing here?
There was one a couple of years ago, I think it was the WEF again, a world leader, I'm not sure who it was, and they're filmed cycling to the centre, and then they showed a video 30 seconds before. She gets out of this limousine, there's a bike waiting, she cycles the last 70 yards to the front door for the cameras, but she's arrived by car.
They are just such grifters, aren't they, these people? So apparently 2 weeks ago we came very close to blackouts.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know if you're aware of that. And this is when it was very still. So we've had a very windy session, but before that it was very, very still.
And cold.
And
so
cold.
People had the heating on.
So people had the heating blasted up. There was no wind. And because we can only get 9 to 10% of our energy from these, there wasn't enough energy being generated, basically. We were buying gas on the spot markets desperately to try and keep the gas power stations going, basically.
And everybody else in Europe was doing the same thing, so the price of that gas rocketed.
Correct.
So we bought the most expensive gas in the world because we almost ran out.
Yeah, and you said it yourself earlier. We have enough gas under us for a minimum of 50 years. I think you think it's
hundreds of years,
But there's something else happening as well, which you may not be aware of. I might surprise you now.
Go on.
Have you heard, Nick, of the Climate and Nature Bill?
Yes, I have. I don't know much about it. I just know it was going to Parliament to be voted on.
Yes.
And hence why I know the net zero stuff is coming to an end, because the Labour Party have whipped their MPs to vote against it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now you're surprising me.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I was going to try and stun you with some really...
It was brought to Parliament by a Lib Dem. All the Lib Dems and Greens are going to vote for it.
Yeah. Correct. It's Ed Davey. So Ed Davey had whipped all his 72 MP. He's got 72 MPs, even though he got less votes than Reform. He's got 72 MPs. Yeah, so he whipped all his MPs to vote for this Climate and Nature Bill. Now, the Climate and Nature Bill, the target is to cut hydrocarbon emissions by 90% within a decade.
Yeah, impossible.
And apparently the people who reviewed this, and these people are imbeciles, aren't they? They are just imbeciles. That Ed Davey is a clown. He's an imbecile. He's a clown. He's a fool. But somehow he's leading that party. People have done assessments of this. To do that within a decade, cut hydrocarbon emissions, and hydrocarbon is everything. So all fossil fuel, any kind of emissions, gas emission. So it's not just petrol. It's everything where carbon-based generating. It would result in mass starvation, death, disease, and societal collapse. Basically, that's what they've assessed. But this imbecile Ed Davey has been pushing this. Basically, I didn't realise that had happened about the whip. So they voted it out, have they?
I'm not sure if it's been. I'm not sure. I think they did. I'm not sure if it's been in yet. I'm not sure, but I know that I read that Labour's being whipped to vote against it because, again, they're trying to save the economy they've ruined. They can't have this as well. This is going to kill everything. Now, the reason why I know people like Ed Davey and all these lunatics, even if they believe it, the reason why I know they're fools and ideologues, because let's say net zero is true. Let's say it turns out me and you are wrong.
Yeah.
That carbon, our emissions across the world, but our country as well, we are killing the planet and everything's going to go wrong. Let's say that is completely true. What's the answer? Well, the answer is easy. We need to find a power source that doesn't rely on carbon. So it could be green energy, but do you know what else?
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Reliable, safe, fairly inexpensive. We can build them in 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
You think if it's the end of the world, why aren't they going build a load of nuclear power stations, and then over the next 10, 20, 30 years, we need to move to completely solar, wind, but let's get rid of all the coal and the gas because that's killing us all. Let's go straight to nuclear, and then we'll figure out proper green energy after that. The fact none of them ever talk about nuclear as the answer means none of them are serious people. They're ideologues. It's a religion to them. They're not looking for solutions.
Why are they not considering nuclear?
Their answer will be, it's dangerous. What we're doing with the pollution. But the answer, the answer to that is, does it matter about pollution?
Yeah.
We're all going to die in 10 years.
Yeah, that's a really good point, yeah.
If we're going to die in 10 years, a bit of pollution now, and let's sort the pollution out over the next 10, 20 years. But let's stop the world dying, build power stations, and then we'll deal with the problem afterwards. The fact nobody wants to talk about nuclear means none of them have given it any serious thought.
Yeah, because otherwise that would be part of kind of a managed approach, wouldn't it? We'll build nuclear.
If your house was on fire,
and
you're trying to save your house, and next door to you there's loads and loads of polluted water, and it's like, I could throw this on the house, but it's going to pollute the house.
It'll give some polluted fumes off and things like that. Yeah,
and it's going to there'll be residue in the house and stuff like that I want to live in, but my house is on fire. There's no other option. Let's put the flames out, and then I'll have to deal with the pollution later.
Yes. That's exactly what you do.
But that's not what they're doing. They're going, the earth is burning, we're all going to die. But I'm not willing to accept nuclear.
Yeah.
They're full of it.
That's a great point, that. I've never even thought of that before. It's a really good point. So that is actually the argument to have with any of these nut zero fanatics when they come. Just, let's build nuclear plants.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not the answer. Let's build wind. No, let's build nuclear plants. Cheaper, won't take all our money, and we know it works, don't we?
Yeah. And it will stop the earth ending in 10 years.
Yeah. Although that 10 years is moving all the time.
It's always 10 years.
But interesting, just on Ed Davey, before we move on, Ed Davey sent a tweet, I think, saying to Elon Musk, saying, you don't understand our country, you don't understand our politics or whatever. And Elon Musk's response was this: what exactly do I fail to understand about your failure to stop the mass rape of little girls in Britain, you snivelling cretin?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I mean, that is exactly what somebody just used to say to Ed Davey when he's in Parliament.
It's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Perfect answer.
Yeah. Just brilliant.